benefits, and that could maybe be an executive bonus, split dollar, deferred comp, something along those lines. And so I think this is a way of differentiating yourself from the other 3 WFG advisors that might be talking to that business owner in the next several weeks, right? How do you differentiate yourself? And then for Nationwide, kind of the same question goes to Nationwide. How does Nationwide differentiate ourselves? Well, and maybe I'm wrong, but I really haven't heard them talking about it. I don't think Pac Life or Transamerica are offering this kind of backup support. And Ryan said he's going to share kind of a little interesting story about how much value you're actually bringing to your business owners when you bring them this whole your business, your legacy concept. I think it's this great, amazing value-added services that you can bring to your business owner clients or prospective clients free of charge. And I think it's going to be pretty amazing. So with that being said, I don't want to take too much of Ryan's thunder here today. Ryan, I forget, Ryan, how long have you been at Nationwide?
Oh gosh, about 10 years now.
10 years. So you'll notice a lot of people at Nationwide have been around for a long, long time. It looks like Ryan started when he was 15, if he's been here for 10 years, right? We appreciate the time, Ryan. Take it away.
I love it. It's the hair that does it, I'm sure. No, I'm thrilled to be here. I'm happy to share these these fun things with everybody today. As Pat mentioned, we're going to go through our Your Business, Your Legacy program. That program, just like Pat said, that's really the sister or cousin program to the Land is Your Legacy program. And it's really focused around meeting the needs of any business owner you could talk to. Certain ones will certainly be able to help probably a little bit more, but we've got some fun stories in store for you today too. So with that, I will go ahead and share my screen with everybody on a couple of pieces out there. The first one, I just wanted to kind of kick things off with everybody is, why is this so important? Why are we having these discussions? You know, why are we focused on a business market so heavily? There's a couple of reasons for it, and I would say one that you've probably heard out there in the market, and just so you know, everything we're going to talk through today or anything I show you, we'll follow up with an email as well. So don't worry about taking a lot of notes. We'll have all these pieces over to you too. But one of the big reasons for this need, similar to the Land is Your Legacy program, is really about transition planning. So what am I going to do if something happens to me as a business owner? What's the success of the business look like going forward? How do I make sure that everybody knows what I know as far as a business owner goes? You can see that that's pretty challenging just based on the stats here on the screen. Look at this, first generation to second generation. There's a 70% chance of failure. That's pretty drastic. Second to third, 88, third to fourth, geez, look at that, 97% chance that they would fail. So if you know of anybody that's in that third to fourth generation, geez, they have already gone through so much just to get to this point. I would say congratulations to them. It is extremely challenging to instill what I know as a closely held business or a small business, all the things that I do to that next generation to make sure it's still as successful. And that's really what we want to help them with. We want to make sure that any of those risks that we can help them protect against, like Pat mentioned, is it a key person that's at a potential risk for us? Maybe it's something else. We'll talk through some of those as well, but really interesting. I wanted to give you those stats because, geez, third to fourth generation, look at that, 97% chance of failure. Not that we want to scare anybody, but goodness, there's ways to bump that up pretty significantly. And the best way that we've found to do that, and Pat mentioned this as well, is really to focus on, for our business owners, wrapping them around these 3 key areas. And that's protection, succession, and retirement. And the reason we have these identified, not just from our perspective, but this is the industry in general, just the business industry in general. These are the 3 things that they need to figure out to make sure that they're not part of that failure rate. Protection. Protection is exactly what you would think. Protection is, I have everything as far as the assets go protected. So think of your P&C partners that you work with. Uh, we're protecting the things that we have. We want to make sure that if something happens, we're covered. We want to keep the business we have in place. Part of that, and we have it right here, maybe it's even a cybersecurity attack. This one actually hit pretty close to home for us here in Ohio. I was working with a group that does online auctions. So if you've ever participated with, say, an estate sale, they come in, take pictures of everything that you've got, down to your coffee mug, everything. They'll list it online. People can go out there and bid on it and that sort of thing. This group got attacked by ransomware. So they had a cybersecurity issue, and that set them back for a couple weeks. So think of that. Think of that if I'm going to buy a business. If I were looking to get into that space of say, online auctions, and I knew that it was down to 2 companies that I thought were just fantastic, I myself as a purchaser willing to put up my money would be probably much more engaged with the group that either has cybersecurity protection on their books, an insurance product to protect against cybersecurity, because I know that I'm buying a business that has identified that risk to their operations and they've protected against it. That just adds to my comfort of buying that business, buying that cash flow of the business, that I know it's a little more secure than the other one that maybe has thought of it, but hasn't necessarily protected against it. So protection, we want to hit on those, at least identify those things that you can protect against and maybe want to choose to do so. Succession planning, for me, the next topic is really people. It's people planning. And this one should probably actually be a little bit bigger than the other 2 because people are just so important. They're the ones that are going to wake up the next day if something happens to the current generation of owners. They're the ones that are going to have to step right into the shoes of that owner and say, let's go. Let's pick up the pieces. Let's keep going with this business. So it's really very important to focus on people when we have this discussion of your business, your legacy, because they are your legacy. They're the folks that are going to step up and make sure that things continue just the way that you left them. And you may not have a individual that passes away. They may just retire. And you want to make sure those people that are still in place are going to instill the same values that current owner had. So people planning is key. And I'll tell you this too, we'll cover this in a little more detail as well, but there's certain industries today that people planning is becoming much, much more difficult. We've heard of something called the Great Resignation. Maybe you've heard of that too, but there's so much opportunity out there for folks to find a new job. And some of that is actually new opportunities as well for them to start their own business. There's a group in particular I'm thinking of, which we'll cover here in a little, but it is extremely challenging to keep skilled staff on their team today. So what are we doing to make sure that they don't leave for that next opportunity, or they don't leave to start their own job, their own business? Maybe it's some sort of executive bonus arrangement. And heaven forbid, if somebody, say I'm in a skilled profession, if somebody passes away, can I go and find that person to replace the person that passed away? Maybe not right now. So we want to address the people component, and that's really what succession is focused on. Retirement's our last one as far as wrapping the business owner around these kind of pillars here. Retirement, most individuals would probably think, well, it's my 401k. I'm going to work with the broker. That's my retirement. If you talk to a business owner or you look at the books of a business owner, their business is their retirement. It is their nest egg. It is what they feel most comfortable, most confident investing dollars into because they have control of it. If they want to grow their wealth, they're putting money back into the business. So retirement for our focus isn't necessarily our retirement plans. They're certainly a component. We want to make sure they have good tax diversified money, but retirement is focused around the business. And the biggest thing with retirement for a business owner is knowing the value of your business. If I'm going to retire and sell it to the next generation or sell it to the key employees or gift it or whatever I want to do, I have to know where to start, and that's starting with the value. So for us, many times when we're having this larger discussion about your legacy, first place that I always start is around value. You have to know what you have in order to do any of these things. In order to say, hey, should I sell it to 2, maybe 3 employees? Should I give it to just my son or daughter? What does it look like? What kind of wealth are we talking about? So retirement planning is really focused around the value of the business and making sure that what the value is today is that with Uncle Sam taking a portion of it. So how do we keep that away from Uncle Sam the best we can, from the IRS, taxes in general? We'll focus on any of those. The rest of this PDF, and I'll send this out to you as well, is our much more robust fact finder. So there's a lot of components that go into your wrapping an individual with all those protection needs, all those retirement succession needs. That's what this does for you. And I'll send this out to you, but it's got a great fact finder. It asks a lot of probing questions. So I'll look this over. It's even got a couple of examples too. But another thing, Pat and I were talking about, one of the best ways to get this conversation started with the business owner is what keeps you up at night? What are those things that are preventing our business owners from really feeling confident in the business that they have? They've identified the risk. If you want to ask them a question about what keeps them up at night, it's probably on this sheet right here. There are 24 questions on this risk assessment, and these are all the big things that we've identified business owners struggle with in their risk to their business, and at least a risk to succession planning, or at least making it easy for succession planning. Some of them are pretty straightforward. Do you have a business succession plan? And number 2 actually goes right with it. Is it in writing? A lot of folks will say, well, I've got a plan. I'm going to do it just the way that mom and dad did it. That's how they got me in the business. I'll do the exact same thing. Well, things change, and things have changed. Gosh, even this last year, things have changed from a succession perspective. So the way that it used to work, moving a business down, probably may work, but it's probably not the most efficient way to have that happen. The other big thing that I would stress to all business owners that are closely held, write it down. Write down the individuals that you talk to. Write down who it is that you buy certain goods from. What's their contact info? Little things like that can be disruptors to your business when you go to transition it down. So, yes, no, don't know for a lot of these questions. And again, one of the big ones for me is valuation. Have they done a valuation since the pandemic? Have they done one since they received PPP funds? Have they done one since they made changes because of supply chain? All those items have affected their valuation. And it says here last 3 years. I would say, goodness, this last year. If they haven't had a valuation done this past year, their value is probably off. Things have changed drastically. Now, the other one that I'll just point out here too that I find interesting. So if you're working with say a business banker, a business commercial lender, ask them this. Ask them this question right here, question 9. Have you discussed with your lender about the creditworthiness of that next generation that's going to take over? So if it's mom and dad and they're working with son or daughter in the business, are son and daughter held to the same creditworthiness? Will they be able to get the same access to credit that mom and dad have? Is it going to be at the same rates? All those little questions, just like this one here, impact the value of the business and impact the cash flow of the business. So very, very important to know, can I still get access to credit? Can I still continue doing the business the same way it's been going if something happens to that current owner? So I've said a lot there. I'm going to jump right into where I think a great starting point is, and that's really around valuation. And the reason I say that that's the best starting point is because things have just been crazy the last year and last 2 years. I would say, for business owners, if you're looking to have that conversation with them, ask them those questions around how they've had changes this past year. One of the best ones that I love, just from a kind of a probing question or trying to fill your funnel with business clients, is partnering with that business lender and have a conversation with them to say, business banker, I think it's a great opportunity for you to go and have a discussion with your clients and say, call the folks that have had PPP loans and say, hey, I'm following up on those individuals that have participated with the PPP program or one of the pandemic related programs. I'm calling to follow up with you to see if you've had a valuation done that reflects your participation with these programs. I found that individuals that participated with the PPP loans or any of those other pandemic related dollars that were out there actually saw their value go up. Is that something you've had done for you? Have you seen your new value because of your participation? A great way to use that source to fill your funnel. The other ones that I think are just great from that perspective are around the changes we've had. And Pat, you've probably heard me talk about this before, but we had tequila companies making hand sanitizer. That's a big shift in a business. We went from making one product and selling it into the market and now changing that entirely, changing our production, changing our bottling systems, everything, our distribution, who we sell to. We are shifting to this product. Now we're at the point where we're probably more post-pandemic than front-end pandemic. So that shift is happening back to their former, so making tequila. But now a big issue for a lot of these folks is, can I get the same product? Can I get the bottle that I use to put my tequila in to sell to market? Or am I going to maybe keep a portion of hand sanitizer? Those are big shifts to businesses. So I think another great question is, I know your business has changed a lot over the past few years. You've shifted the way you manufacture your product, or maybe you've shifted entirely what you sell into the market. And I'm curious if you've had a valuation done to reflect those changes. You'd be surprised that a lot of individuals that have made those changes have actually seen an uptick in their value. Is that something you'd like to see as well? So just simple conversations that you can have with your business owners, and you can really touch on just about everybody. Everybody has been affected by the pandemic. So I wanted to give you those as kind of some openers. There's a couple more I'll send over to Pat to send out to the group as well. But this PDF here, I wanted to just show you a couple of things on here that you could expect from us and the larger your business, your legacy platform. Some of those that you probably wouldn't expect from a typical valuation, say from a Principal or Lincoln or one of the other Pac Life. Certain groups out there probably won't go into as much detail. Maybe they do, but one of the things that you could expect from us are tax strategies. So we'll certainly get you the value of the business and what to do with that value, but we also want to maximize that current owner's value for themselves. We want to make sure they're in the best position to sell when they want to sell, and the best position today from an income perspective. So am I pulling all the levers I can to make sure I have the most amount of wealth free from taxation? So tax strategies are big, and one of the ones that I think is just fun, and it's continued on for a couple of years now. It's actually a California case. This individual came to us looking for some business planning support and evaluation as well. He was selling his business to another group that was going to go public with his company as well as another company. This business, he was going to sell it for $140 million. So not bad, not a bad day. He was very happy. But imagine getting taxed on $140 million in 1 year. Not the best scenario. But the way that he was actually selling his business allowed him to qualify for the special tax provision. It's called a qualified small business stock, or 1202 stock. And that provision allows you to escape up to $10 million of capital gains tax. That's not bad. That shaves off quite a bit of tax for this individual. But he came to us because his attorney and accounting group said, we're comfortable with the 10 million. Anything else you guys can think of to reduce taxes. And we actually came back to him and said, we should be able to stack that. So meaning, the owner gets that, his spouse received 10 million as well, and his 2 children. So when he came to us, he had 10 million free from taxes. When he left us, going through the same process we're talking about today, he had 40 million free from capital gains tax. That's great. That's a great, great story to have, because that tax savings alone pays for anything that we want to approach him with. All those life insurance solutions for estate planning, because he certainly has an estate tax issue. We've got him covered just through the taxes that we saved him. Business planning, buy-sell planning, all those items are now paid for just because we were able to help him with the tax strategy. That's big, and that's all free. So anything that we do, just so you're aware too, if I haven't spoken with you before, I work in a group that's predominantly attorneys. There's a couple of CPAs in there as well, but what we do is we want to, empower and educate the clients and yourselves, but mainly the clients that you're working with on those things that they may get charged if they ask their attorney. Now, the other thing I was telling Pat before we jumped on here, I was actually approached by a group just this past week that offered similar services to what we do here. They just don't do the product side. They said, we'll help with tax strategies, we'll help with driving the conversation, everything that we would do. They're charging their clients or potential clients anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000 for the same level of support that you're getting through this program. That's a heck of a savings. So when you have these discussions, know that you're offering a support system that's valued in the industry, this type of service at $30,000 to $50,000. That's pretty impactful. And I was kidding around with Pat. I said, maybe I'm in the wrong business. Maybe I should charge $30,000 to $50,000. But that's a side one. The other things that I'll tell you too would just be cybersecurity protection. I know we mentioned this already, but a really, really big chunk of your business here too. Focus on those support groups, those groups you support.
So Ryan, real quick, whatever you make, I get 10%.
That's
your
right.
Manager, right?
That's right. No kidding. Yeah, pretty wild. $30,000 to $50,000. And just for the valuation service that we're going to talk through a real quick here, they were charging $3,500 for that. Same level of support, we probably go a little deeper, and ours is completely complimentary. So pretty interesting. But one of the things I always think of is, this sounds great. Who's a good fit? Who's a good fit for this program? How do I know I'm not just spending a lot of time and energy on maybe clients that aren't a good prospect for me? These are our general, I call them rules of thumb. If you're trying to prospect in this area, think of a business that either has 500,000 of book value assets. So say it's a construction group and they have machinery, equipment, things like that. They've probably got 500,000 of book value assets, or maybe it's that manufacturing group as well. They've probably got that in just their tools and equipment. So they would be a good fit. Maybe it's a business where it's not focused on those assets that they have to have. It's more focused on revenue. So your professional groups, your financial advisors, doctors, dentists, lawyers, focus more on revenue because it's their skills that they're really selling. They just have a computer, and that's about it. So revenue is more of a focus. So either of these two are going to be a good indicator of, they're in a position to do some real succession planning, not just survival. They're going to be in the position to really purchase the products that make the most sense, do the legal items that make the most sense. They'll be able to actually fund those solutions that they came to you seeking. So those are kind of our threshold parameters there. The other ones that I wanted to talk to you about, though, are just industries as far as who we think is a good fit. The one that I'll bring up just real briefly, one interesting gift that we received this past year was the infrastructure bill. If you haven't looked at that, that passed in November this past year, and it was a large piece of legislation. thousands of pages long. So good reading material if you want. But what it essentially did for me is it gave us a target. It gave us a target for the next 5 years of who to prospect around this type of service. The reason I say that is the bill itself was $1.2 trillion. That is a lot of money heading into certain industries. We mentioned the name of it, it's infrastructure. Half of the money, 550 billion, is heading into what I would call traditional infrastructure. So that would be your roadways, your bridges, your waterways, your electric grid, things that we would think of as infrastructure, or traditional infrastructure. That 550 billion is going into those groups in the next 5 years. For me, that means I can almost guarantee that construction groups are going to see a rise in their value, especially those that participate in any sort of road program, any sort of government planning. They're almost guaranteed to have a successful next 5 years as long as they can lock in those contracts. So that's 550 billion heading into those types of groups. I would also look to manufacturing. Construction needs material for them to do those types of projects. So look to manufacturing. And that also goes to, there's part of it's going to be cell towers, things like that. So those ancillary groups that support this infrastructure bill are going to see a rise in their value as well. And the third group I'd say to really focus on are the groups that support construction too, which would be architecture, engineering firms. Those groups in particular are forced to deal with two challenges. One challenge is they're going to see a rise in their value because the amount of work that they have is going to increase. You can't do a roadway without getting the stamp of approval from this group. The other challenge, and I actually had this conversation this past year with the business owner. We were going through an annual review to update his value, and he said, Brian, you know, the biggest concern for me, he said, I know my value is going to increase. My concern is keeping my people. We have almost a guaranteed portion of our key employees that are highly skilled, highly trained, highly developed by him, the owner, and his peers in the business that he owned. He said, I've spent so much time with them. There's almost a guaranteed revenue source for them to start their own business. There are plenty of contracts out there that they could certainly win. I am concerned about those individuals leaving me and starting their own competing firm. He said, the grass looks very green. There's $550 billion of work to be done. They could certainly start a competing firm and do well. So he said, I need ways to incentivize them to stay with me. And a few of those that came up were REBAs, so restrictive executive bonus arrangements, where we want to keep somebody on staff for the next, say, 5 years, give them a bonus to do that. REBA was top of mind for him. And he ended up, I believe he ended up placing about 25,000 or 50,000 in a couple of contracts for a couple of key employees to incentivize them to stay with him as opposed to starting a competing firm. So that definitely impacts the value of his business too. Say one of them left. Not only is the competition going to hurt his revenue, but he's also got to train somebody. He's probably not able to take as much on if he doesn't have that individual on staff. So his revenue is going to go down because of the competition and the loss of revenue and the training of the new person. So employees for that group are extremely important. The other one we talked about with him was the unfortunate. If somebody, heaven forbid, passed away, can you go and find somebody? Like we said, the grass is certainly greener right now, given those government contracts. Can you swoo somebody away from starting their own firm? Would it cost you more? So key person coverage is a very, very important conversation with that as well. Outside of just the value of the business and protecting that, it's really around those people planning portions too. And that goes back to that succession piece of your business, your legacy plan. It's people. It's people first and people foremost for a lot of these businesses. So I've said a lot. I'll show with you a couple more things, and then we'll open it up to some questions too. As far as the process goes for your business, your legacy, again, I always start with value. Know what you have before you can plan for the next step. So starting with evaluation is a good first step here. And the fact finder for that is a front and back. So we make it as easy as we can. A couple of things that I need from you to make it simple is a type of business. So if it is construction, we talked a lot about construction. Let me know the type of construction it is. Do they do roadways or do they build houses? Let me know just as much detail as you can about the type of work that they do so we can give you the best value for you. The other things that we would need would just be a couple of years worth of their financials. So 2 to 3 years worth of their tax returns or their financial statements. That'll really get us going. That'll help us get to a value for them. So great way to start. And just let me know if there's anything, I call it the odd factor. So maybe the market value of their real estate has gone up drastically, but they don't show it on their balance sheet as the new market value. Let me know and we'll adjust that for their business. But from there, it really comes down to, I've given you this data. We'll take all the data in. This is just a sample, a tax return that we would look at. We'll do a deep dive through that, find any sales opportunities. I wanted to show you this because I think there's some really interesting opportunities, just so you know, kind of behind the curtain of what we do as far as uncovering those opportunities. But you'd send in this fact finder. We would get in those tax documents, those financial documents, and start a deep dive for you. This process takes us about 2 to 3 days before we would be able to send you back anything, but it's a fairly quick turnaround. 2 to 3 days, not terribly long. But a few things that I'll just share with you real quick. We talked about that one case that we had that we said saved them an additional $30 million of taxation. That all started from just this one box right here, this Data Incorporated. We looked, we saw when he was incorporated, that led us to a conversation around saving him some money on the way he sells his business. So that little box right there was worth $30 million to that client. So that alone, just from a simple tax return, leads to some very powerful conversations. Another one too, and Pat, I don't know if we've talked about this before or not, but this may be a simple line item too. This is just, hey, I sold this amount of goods. The question you might get back from me would be, where did you sell those goods? Did you sell more of them internationally than you did domestically? For those individuals that sell their goods outside of the US, there's a way that we could probably get their taxation under 15%. So ordinary income tax down to as low as 15%. Today, this client was paying right around 30. So if we know that they're shipping most of their goods out of the US, there's a couple of levers that we can pull to maybe get them down to 15%. That alone is a yearly savings that'll probably pay for their buy-sell needs, their key person, their REBA, maybe even the estate planning needs that they came to you for as well. So you'll get a few more questions, and that's a simple box too. Where are you selling your goods? Real simple conversation. The other ones that I'll show you just very quickly, and know that we'll do all this for you. We don't expect you to be a valuation expert. We don't even expect you to play one on TV. We'll do all of this for you at no cost. A few things though, we'll look through would be, how much are they paying the owners, the officers of the company? And then we'll look to how much is the business actually making. Right now, this number should be considerably less than this bottom line number. There's a tax code out there that allows for this bottom line to actually receive up to a 20% discount on a taxation. So knock off 20% right off the top. The other thing that I think is interesting about this one, which would be good if you partner with somebody that sells retirement plans as their main source of revenue. Look at this. They were paying their owners and officers $1.3 million in W-2 wages. So very high taxes. They were only putting in $36,000 into their qualified plan. That right there is a great referral. Or if you do it internally, you can certainly have a conversation around qualified plans as a way to reduce their taxes today. So again, there's a lot of great sales opportunities, and we'll let you know all of those in a sample email that I send out with our kind of analysis for you. The last thing I wanted to show you too before we have open for questions is anything that I send out to you, sample valuation of the business, the much larger plan that we send out. I'll always send you notes as far as things that I've seen or items that they could consider. Just for example, this was a CNC type of machine shop that we looked at. I'll always let you know if, how they're shaping up compared to their peers. So do they offer, what types of products and services? What's the age of their equipment? These things here that I'll list out directly impact what individuals have said they want to pay for this type of business. So knowing that, you could say, if I'm going to sell my business in the next 3 to 5 years, I need to improve my age of equipment, or I need to make sure that I showcase the quality certificates that I have on for my staff. Those types of things will make sure they get the top dollar for their business. The other things that we'll do for you too would be, if I go to sell my business as part of my legacy, maybe it's to a private equity group, or maybe it's to a family office. What can I expect from them to pay? I'll let you know that too. They'd probably pay 3 to 5 times EBITDA, or whatever the industry standard is. We'll let you know what they would be looking at from a value perspective too. The other things you'll see in here too would just be some additional questions, or maybe it's some of those tax things that we saw. I'll let you know those, and then I'll give you the range of value too. So this business in particular should sell, just from a pure financial perspective, right around $16 to $20 million. So not a bad business, certainly. But I'll always let you know the range there and anything else that we should know or should address. And everything that I send to you, this note included, you can share with the client, you can share with their attorney, their CPA. And the other good thing about this process too is there's a lot here. So use our team to have conversations with your client too. So if they're looking to sell their business for 18 million, bring us in if you'd like. Let us talk to their attorney, let us talk to their CPA. Any questions that they have, certainly the client too. We're happy to talk with anybody that wants to talk to us. So with that, we've covered a lot. Hopefully we addressed those three big things: protection, succession, retirement. But with that, I can stop sharing, and Pat, we can answer any questions and any other comments you have too.
Looks like we have a couple quick questions. What is the maximum coverage allowed for a business for key person? For example, a child care service business owner who is also the key employee and paid $400,000 startup cost, franchise fee plus renovation fee, with revenue of about $200,000 annually. Do we look at the revenue return for the coverage, or can we include the startup cost plus revenue?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Or they had one more continuation, or just the key person's annual salary over a period of time.
Yeah, for me, I look at it as kind of a lump package. So if this person is really the key person, I think there's kind of two things with that. This one looks to be the business owner too. They're also the key employee. So I would say you're kind of mixing two together. A key person, you're really focused on their revenue and the loss of revenue. So if you need to hire somebody else, look to cover at least 3 or so years worth of their revenue to find that new person, to get through that hurdle that them not being present is going to open up. And then you'll also want to have some sort of coverage on the actual employee. That would probably be more of either estate planning for their surviving spouse or dependents or their other business partner. So have that cost covered through insurance. So two different things, I think, for that type of business.
So I have a couple of quick questions. You talked about some of the key businesses or some of the businesses that work. What about obviously Northern California, Silicon Valley, a lot of tech companies? Would those be good potential targets?
Absolutely. So the one that I mentioned that sold for the 140 million was a tech company. Okay. So happy to do those. So
the other question would be that I have, and maybe to save you some time and effort. And correct me if I'm wrong, we're not having you come out to do the first meeting, the prospecting meeting. That's not what Ryan is here for. Ryan is here to close the deal, right? Where I think Ryan brings the most value, and Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, is you're presenting this information, and the business owner says, "Oh, I need to have my attorney and my CPA in the room." That's when you get the advanced consulting group involved, right? And then you can say, well, I have my technical experts that can answer your technical people's answers. You know, you don't have to be the technical expert. That's what we're here for. And so we're really here to help close the deal, not to be prospecting the business owner, right?
Yep, you're spot on. And, you know, I'll send this over to you as well, Pat, but there's a couple of openers that I use that I feel free to use them as well to hopefully fill your funnel. Yeah, you nailed it. Use me for more of those technical discussions and really to save the clients some additional money. So instead of them asking those questions to their attorney that's charging them billable hours, we're free. so use this.
So what I always talk about, and I almost every time I introduce either Ryan or Allison, is I always start off saying the advanced consulting group that they're part of, I look at them as a world-class business consulting firm at your beck and call free of charge. Well, gosh, over the last 40 minutes, if this just doesn't bring that in total, clear, concise, that basically what Ryan has talked about for the last 40 minutes is basically Nationwide can be a business consulting firm. Hey, you might want to look at this. Hey, you might want to look at this for taxes, or hey, you might want to look at this in terms of the best way to get the most money for your business when you're ready to sell it 10 or 15 years from now. We're going to do all this amazing business consulting work, and we're not going to charge you $30,000 to $50,000 to do it. And I don't know. I don't think there's very many companies, and I don't. Let's put it this way: I don't hear Pac Life or Transamerica talking about this at all. They don't promote, and maybe they do this. I don't know. Maybe they do. I don't hear them talk about it. And so I think you have this amazing opportunity once again that when you go and talk to a business owner, and Ryan's going to send us a bunch of things, and we'll get these out to you. If not today, we'll get them out to you tomorrow at the latest. There's going to be a lot of supporting documentation. A lot of these things are client approved. This is just a way for you to go in and look like you actually know what you're talking about, right? And it allows you to have this great kind of this 20,000 foot view conversation with the business owner. And then when it starts getting into the nitty gritty, you bring Nationwide in when it starts getting into the nitty gritty details and let us help you close the deal. So like I said, this is probably my favorite presentation, one of my favorite presentations. I know Allison does an amazing job, but I think there's so much here that you guys can use going forward. We're going to have Ryan go out, and if we continue these going forward, we're going to have Ryan come on every quarter to repeat this, because I just think there's so much value. It's such an amazing way, like I said, not to beat a dead horse, but such an amazing way for you guys to differentiate yourself, not only from other WFG agents, from the guy from Morgan Stanley and the guy from Merrill Lynch and the guy from Linsco Private Ledger or Wells Fargo. This is a way to make yourself look really, really good with current business owners that you're working with, or potentially with prospective business owners. Looks like we have a couple more last minute questions. Any type of business or just certain business types in terms of like C Corps, S Corps? Is there anything along those lines?
Yeah, so virtually every business is open for us. The things that wouldn't be a good fit would be say if it's just real estate, go to a real estate broker for that. They'll be able to give you a much better value than us looking at their financials. So real estate, probably not a good fit. The other one that would be challenging, we could certainly probably help, but it'll be more challenging, would be more of a, say, a patent type of business, or this one's just kind of funny, more of a social media presence. I call it the Kardashian effect. So I had one business come through that each post that they were making to their social media platform was getting them a revenue of over $200,000. So things like that, you wouldn't think, hey,
right.
But it's business revenue. So certain ones like that are a little more challenging, but we're certainly there to help too.
So yeah, says, is there a minimum revenue? I think the revenue we're looking for is around 2 million. We can work with stuff under 2 million, but it's just, we may be limited to how much we can help. This is a good question, Ryan, in terms of a similar question. How about a couple-owned small business? What if we're looking at a couple that owns a couple of gas stations, or more kind of that small business owner?
Yeah, certainly can help them. I would say a majority of our businesses are family-owned, a couple-owned.
Okay.
I've got several actually in-house right now. One that I have is a nursery. They're growing perennials, things like that. I've had gas stations, I've had franchises. So yeah, anything that you want to send in, couple owned, even if it's, say, a corporate owned with a couple, we're happy to do those too.
So the last question, it seems like you're now, I think I can answer this one. If the business owner is not insurable for life insurance, can still be benefit for this planning? I would say absolutely, because there's still potentially need for a buy sell, even if they can't get insured. Or we do like ESOP planning as well, employee stock ownership plan. So maybe how are we moving that business to be most profitable when he sells it? Key man insurance, right? A business executive benefits planning for some of his key employees. So even if that person's uninsurable, there's still a lot of planning that can be done with that particular individual. And let's see. Says, can you share this recording deck? Everything that Ryan showed today, I think he's going to get me out. I think I have most of it, but I may have an older version of it. So Ryan, whatever you showed today, send me the most current version you have, and we will get it out. I know my internal, who usually sends these things out, is out today. So be patient. You may get it tomorrow. But yeah, everything you saw today, you'll get all the supporting documents. If there's a case you're working on, what I would ask you to do, give me a call first. Discuss it with me first. If I feel like maybe it'd be a good fit to get Ryan involved. I mean, if you have just a simple basic question on key man or a simple question on buy sell, more likely than not, I can help you. But if it looks like it's going to be this more comprehensive planning, we'll definitely get Ryan involved and go from there. But give me a call first. And on that thing, let me bring up this. Let me share my screen, and I will tell you we have a new TMA. Dennis Jordan is our new TMA. But as you run across these cases, hey, I've got this couple and they own this, that, or the other. Give me a call. Walk me through it, and then we'll see if it's a good fit to get Ryan involved. I just don't want to overwhelm Ryan with 100 phone calls a day, because then he'll get burned out and he won't be able to help us, and that doesn't do any good for anybody if we get Ryan burned out. So give me a call. The other thing I will tell you that that Skylar and I are and Caitlin are in the middle of right now. And Skylar sent out an email probably about a month ago. We've had a lot of successes. We're starting to do this kind of one-on-one training with any advisor who thinks it might be helpful. And it's a 3-part training. So Caitlin's going to talk about all the different resources that are available at Nationwide on the website, this, that, or the other. She might talk about the Advanced Consulting Group, Nationwide Retirement Institute, Doug Ewing. Skylar's going to be talking about more, when to use which product to use, and do a little more product training. And then last, but hopefully not least, it will be me kind of showing you maybe how to run an illustration or the best way to present it to your clients, maybe give you a few sales ideas on life insurance and even maybe Care Matters. These one-on-one trainings, this 3-part series, it can be for a brand new advisor. It can be for, if there's SMDs on the call today, we can do it for an SMD. Heck, we can do this 3-part training for your team. If you really want to do this 3-part training for your entire team, we would love to set up like a nationwide boot camp, like a 3, 4, 5-part series. One of the things that Skylar actually did this Saturday, she, as part of this, sending the email out, we had an SMD call us and call her and said, hey, could you guys do like a boot camp for my team? So just 2 days ago, on Saturday morning, from 8 o'clock in the morning till about noon, we did it was about 3.5 hours. We didn't go all the way till noon, but Skylar did some information on the nationwide. I did product training and sales training. We had Christian Rivera, our new Care Matters wholesaler, came on, did some information about Care Matters. Chris Bezich came on from Annexus to talk about the fixed indexed annuity. And so we actually did a nationwide boot camp from 8 in the morning till about noon on Saturday. As long as there's not a foot of fresh powder, I have no problem participating in these. If there's a foot of fresh powder, my hour might have to come some other day. But with that being said, it could be, hey, we have 10 new recruits. We have 10 new advisors. Can we do this boot camp for these 10 new advisors? We would love to have that opportunity. And whether it's a Saturday morning, whether it's a Friday afternoon, a Tuesday night, we're open to doing this whenever it fits into your schedule. So once again, thanks everybody. Looks like we might have one last question. I'm sorry, I saw one. Oh no, it's the one I just didn't delete previously. So I appreciate your time, Ryan. Thanks for your time as always. If you guys need anything, give us a call. Enjoy the rest of the day. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Bye.
All right, thanks.
Yeah.